Hey guys, Bryce Tubbs here today. So today let's talk about how much money does a bookkeeper charge? Okay, so basically how much you charge for a small business. I want to break it down step by step so you know exactly what to charge, you know exactly what's fair, you know exactly how to, really quantify the value that you're bringing so that you can go out and charge this stuff for yourself. Now, if you want some further help, you're tired of like taking the guesswork. Maybe you've been trying this stuff, but you don't really exactly know what it takes to get success, or maybe you're slightly seeing success, but it's just not going as fast as what you want. You want an easier, shorter path to success without making all the sacrifices you're probably making right now. I invite you to go ahead and click on the link inside the description below to book a call with me to see if I can help you. And just kind of back to what we're saying. So how do we price this stuff out? Number one, we're going to be talking about value and flat rate. But in order to come up with that flat rate, I'm going to show you how to think about it from the perspective of hourly first, and then combining it into a flat rate price. So I'm just going to kind of show you our thought process behind that. So number one, okay, you need to have a revenue goal. That means you take a look at your bills, your living expenses, your vacation expenses, and then you basically say, okay, so how much money do I realistically need to make in a year in order to sustain my lifestyle or even improve my lifestyle? When you have that number down, that is the starting point. If you don't have that number down, to be honest, you have more of a hobby, and it's not really going to be a thing that can take you and sustain you and your family for the long term. So first things first, you have to have a goal. Now, a solid goal that most people come to me with, they want to make like 10K per month, right, or 120,000 per year. Okay, so we'll just use that for round numbers. Your goal might be a little bit smaller. Your goal might be a little bit more, depending on like who's watching this and where you are in your life. Okay, I'm just going to use this number because it's a nice round number. Okay, so that's about $120,000 per year. So now we have to go and see how much that break down to per hour, okay? So we want to go and want to say, okay, so about 200,000 divided by the number of, let's even break this down a little bit further, sorry. So next, once you have your number goal, you need to think, how many hours per week do you want to work? How many hours per week? Is that 20? Is that 30 hours? Is that 40 hours? How many hours per week do you want to work? Okay, for this example, I'm just going to take 40 hours because it's just a pretty standard work week, right? Of course, you might be working a lot less when you're running your business. I'm just doing it because it's simple. Okay, so 40 hours is our desired amount of time. Cool. Okay, so now you want to go and multiply by the number of weeks per year you're going to work. Are you a person that wants to work half the year, right? Or you personally wants to take a vacation for an entire month every other month? Like, what is the number of weeks that you want to be working? For this example, I'll just go based on 52 52 weeks in a year. Cool. Okay, so cool. So now what we do is we take 120,000, this is our goal, divided by, in parentheses, number of hours per week, 40 hours per week, multiplied by the number of weeks in a year. Cool. Basically, what that's going to equal is about 58 per hour, right? It's going to come out to about 58 per hour is our minimum amount of money we need to do in order to stay on track for our goal. All right, cool. Okay, so now going back to what we're saying. So some people might be thinking, like right now, you might be thinking, I can't charge that much money. So can you charge that much money? A lot of people think that it's just based on the amount of experience that you have when it's not really. So for example, I had a student inside of my mentorship program, which I think every single person watching this thing should check out the mentorship program. But when he was starting out, he was only able to charge $30 per hour. His highest client was paying about $300 a month, right? This is a person who had 10 years experience. He was a CPA, people well respected inside of his company. He was moving up the ranks in his company, but he just couldn't get these business owners to pay him more money, right? And he thought, maybe if he got more certifications, maybe if he did more education, maybe if he did more training, it would cause him to increase the price. So what we did was I came there, I basically broke down what a true hourly rate should be, but then we also broke down his sales call. So that's the consultation call you do with prospective clients. Like when you're saying your price, how do you say it? Do you say it with confidence? How do you set up your price? Like, do you give them like comparisons of what the actual price should be if someone was to go like full time for them? Like, how do you present the price? How do you set it up? How do you control that call to make sure they respect you enough to be able to, give you a much higher hourly rate or a much higher amount of money on a flat rate basis, right? And then how do you even get them on the phone call? Like, what is your marketing process? Do you have a good marketing process in place? Do you know how to create interest? Do you know how to get them to see your value? Do you know how to get them to build trust? Do you know how to get them to have urgency so at the time that they get to the phone call, they're ready to buy from you specifically at whatever price point is kind of within reason, right? The higher that you can get them to perceive your service is and the value of your service before the call, the easier it is to charge a higher than average amount of money. So that's just kind of, just taking a step back. You can do it at the state that you're in now. You just have to make sure that you know how to talk to people and how to do the marketing to get the right people on the call in the right state of mind to buy what you have. So let's just kind of just dive into this. Okay. So you can charge this amount of money, if not more. Like, you could be at 100. Some of our students charge between about 100 to $125 per hour inside of a flat rate. Because remember, we're talking about an hourly rate. This is just our minimum hourly rate right now. But the reason why we're doing that is so we can make a flat rate in a couple minutes. So I'm just kind of, giving you the option so you can do this on your own. Because generally for me, my students, I give them a pricing calculator, right? So you just plug in the amount of work, the scope of work, and we also like have based on like the rate you're trying to charge, it spits out the number at the bottom. So if you have like a cleanup or a catch up, or if you have to do payroll as well, or if you just need to do like tax prep or bookkeeping in general, it just gives you all the numbers right there. So there's not this much thought process into it. But if you don't have that, if you're going at this alone, this resource is something that's going to help you. All right, cool. So you can charge that much money with your current experience level and skill set. You just have to get good at marketing, sales, and marketing, which I help with. Cool. So let's kind of dive into it. Keep going. Okay. So next thing, how can you actually turn this hourly price into a flat rate? Okay, cool. So let's say that you go and you have a client that comes to you. You need to be either having them give you access to their QuickBooks or give them access to read only on their bank statements. Or if they don't want to give you access, have them do a Zoom call with you where they share their screen and you can manually go and look at the scope of work, right? Because the last thing you want someone to do is you say, how many transactions do you have if you're selling bookkeeping? They go, oh, I only have a few. Then you get yourself inside of there. You've already signed a contract. You've given them a really small quote based on what they said. And then you see there's 1 million transactions. They had 27,000 bank accounts. And you're like, oh, I underpriced. Okay. So we have to make sure we can see that from the beginning before we give a price code. So now let's just assume that you've seen the work. Okay. You're at this point, you've seen the work. You've seen exactly how many transactions it is. Here's a very simple way to be able to understand how much time it's going to take you so that we can spit out a flat rate. Okay, cool. So let's say that they have 1,000 transactions. Let's say they have one bank account. We're just going to keep it simple. One account. All right, cool. Right. So now assume that one transaction will take you 1.5 minutes. Okay. Generally, it's going to take you about 1 minute, but we also want to make sure we have a buffer. It should take 1 minute, but always give yourself a buffer. Okay, so what I mean by a buffer, like whenever we sell a cleanup, we want to make sure we're either saying, hey, it's going to take 2 weeks or to a month longer than what we plan on it taking, so that we have proper expectations set up. The worst thing that you want to have happen, that you can't have happen, is if you tell someone, hey, I'm going to do a cleanup and it's 3 years worth of cleanup, but I'm going to get it done in 1 month. And then 29 days comes, 30 days comes, and they're like, hey, where's the work? 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 You told me you'd have it on this day. Especially if they're trying to get like a loan or they need it for a specific date, like to apply for a grant. You got to make sure you set proper expectations, because if you don't, it's very easy to lose a client because they get very disgruntled. They fire you halfway through the cleanup. They don't want to pay you the rest, and it just gets really ugly. So always give yourself a buffer. That's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned along the way running my accounting firm. Always give yourself a buffer. Okay. So just like this, we're going to give ourselves a 30-second buffer. In this case, we will give ourselves a 30-second buffer per transaction. Okay, so a couple of reasons for that why we're doing this in addition to like protecting yourself. Number one, just in case you have questions or just in case you're moving a little slowly, you want to have that. In case you move slower than usual, Or in case, which this is a really cool thing, after you start getting to a certain size, you're going to bring on a subcontractor or a staff accountant underneath you to do the work for you, right? In case your contractor works slower than you do. Okay. So that's just going to, again, give you that buffer. And when you bring on your help, it's going to make it so they don't have to be quite as good as you as far as speed, but you'll still be able to make a good amount of money. Okay. All right, cool. So let's say 1,000 transactions down times 1.5 minutes times 1.5 minutes per transaction. I'm going to highlight this word. Cool. Equals about, what was that, 1,500? Yeah, 1,500 minutes. Okay. You divide that by 60 minutes because you're trying to get the hourly. That's going to be about 25 hours. Equals 25 hours worth of work. Cool. So that's 25 hours per month they'll take you. Awesome. Okay, cool. So now you're going to just multiply 25 hours. So 25 times, remember your hourly price, that our minimum hourly price we're going for, right? 58 times 58 equals about 1450 per month you would charge. This is the minimum that we can charge to hit our goal. The minimum you should charge to be on track with your goal. Cool. Okay. So that's generally how you'd go and figure out what your monthly price is going to be. Now, again, it's going to vary based on the number of weeks you want to be working in a year, the number of hours you want to work in a week, but based on that, it's going to make it really easy for you to be able to have a baseline. Okay. Now, keep in mind, okay, that might seem a little bit low, it might seem a little bit high, depending on who you are. For me, I always encourage my students to go and charge a swagger fee. A swagger fee is a discretionary amount of money over the minimum goal to account for vacations and in case life happens. Right? Let's say maybe you set your plan on 50 weeks in a year, but you want to take, 4, 6, 10 weeks out of the year to go on vacation, or you just want to spend more time with your family, right? So we have to make sure that for every client, we're trying to go over that 1450, right? It also allows you to be able to, what is that called? Really do make more money with less time and less clients, right? Because the higher the amount of money you can charge somebody, the easier it is going to be to run your business, but it also gives you negotiation room to move down, to have negotiation room to move down. Right? You never want to start the bidding or start the pricing at what is your minimum you need in order to hit your goal. You always want to have that a little bit higher. So for me, I might put that at like $250 extra a month or $500 a month or maybe $750 to $1,000 per month. I like to either shoot for like a round number, like a 2,000 or 2,500, because then you can start going back down. You can give like discounts, which discounts not really a discount because you're still going to hit your goal, but it could be a discount to them because you're giving them as much opportunity to come down as possible just to get them to have their foot inside of the door, right? So for this client, depending on my relationship to the person, relationship and the channel that they came through, the channel / method that they came through will dictate how much extra I charge. So for example, I have a student named Chris Jordan, and when he was getting started, his first client, it was this consultant. It was this guy who was doing $2 to $3 million per year, and The guy, he was a consultant, he didn't have a lot of transactions. He had a good amount, like the price, my pricing calculator I gave him said it was like $1,200 a month, right? And I was like, wow, that's interesting. So I said, hey, maybe you should add like I think I said like add like 200. Somehow he heard inside of in his ears and his mind on the coaching call, he said he heard me tell him to double it. Okay, cool. So he went into the call, he doubled the price. So his swagger fee was literally $1,200 on top of that. And he charged the guy like $2,400 per month. And the guy was like, okay, cool. Right off the bat, right? But it came because the guy really liked him. Chris had a lot of confidence on that call. We had done some preparations out of one of our coaching calls to make sure that he felt really strongly about it. Then we went on the call. There was nothing in his mind that told him he couldn't actually do that. So he charged that price and he got the extra money. It was just a really easy kind of client and easy kind of result from that. But it all comes from knowing what you want and then being able to charge above that because you've known what you wanted. Okay, so that's why it always starts with number one, you got to know what your real revenue goal is. Number two, you got to know exactly how many hours per week you want to work. Number three, you need to know exactly how many years or weeks per year you want to be working. And then four, you start calculating backwards from there. Just one more thing to do. Always remember, know exactly what the scope of work is. Like, see it yourself to verify. Someone might say something, but in some cases, they might not really understand what a transaction is. They might not understand what they're telling you or what you mean by it. So make sure you see it first in order to get a full picture of the workload before you either send out a quote, before you agree to take it on, before you send over an engagement letter. You got to see it yourself, okay? Or else you're going to undercharge, and that's kind of ugly because then you end up resenting the client. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully it's answered the question for you of how to charge for a small business. Let me know inside the comments what you think. And also, if you want some help doing it, you really have two options, right? Because we have 300 videos on this channel at this point in time, and they're really great, right? Because they give you step by step what you need to be doing. But there's so many, it's very easy to get overwhelmed, right? If you want to do it on your own, you have every single tool you could possibly need to do it. I've equipped you, nothing held back, right? But if you want the shorter and easier way to do it, right, where I can just give you the step by step, hold your hand, make sure you know exactly what you need to do in the moment, so it's custom to you, I just invite you to go ahead and click on the link inside the description below to book a call with me to see if I can help you, right? It's the most direct path to your goal because I can tell you secret things that I've learned along the way from running my firm and from working with over 150 students over the past, just in the past 2 years alone, we've helped over 150 students go and reach their goals, right? So there's a lot of little shortcuts we've known, a lot of little tips, tricks, hacks, and implementation secrets that we've learned to grow people's business a lot faster. So if you want that, you want to skip the line, you want to go the fast track to being able to have more time in your life to spend with your family while still making a really great amount of money, go ahead and click on the link inside the description below to book a call with me to see if I can help you. Okay, you don't have to apply because I can't help everybody and we're not a good fit for everybody. So apply to see if you're a good fit. If it is, I'll just kind of outline what the program looks like. We can walk you through exactly what the steps are for us to implement and what time frame is needed from you. If you think it's a good thing, we can talk about pricing. We can get you onboarded on the spot. If it's not a good time, we can make recommendations for what to do for the future. So at the very least, you're going to be able to know exactly what you need to do to find success in the call, even if it's not a good fit for us to work together at the moment. So if that's you, I'll see you on the call. If it's not you at this time, I'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.